Hello and welcome everyone. Okay, so in this video tutorial series, it's going to be a three-part video series. We're going to go over the new Smootify Relume components that have been created. So this is going to really make your life easier in terms of creating a headless store using Shopify, Smootify, and Webflow. So this tutorial series, we're going to go through step by step the entire process from start to finish and how we can utilize these new components. And I'm going to be using a starter template, which has got everything configured from a client first point of view as you would normally be using the Relume library. Okay, so to utilize the library, you do need to have a Relume license. So you can use the starter tier and all of the Smootify components come already in there. So no extra charge for the Smootify components. Okay, so if you haven't got it already, download the Relume and Smootify template and we'll come back over and we'll explore this in a little bit more detail. But right off the get-go, we're going to go and start creating our development store and so we can get everything working and show you how it goes. Okay, so if you aren't a Shopify partner, your process is going to be slightly different, but because I'm a Shopify partner, I'm going to create a development store which I can load data and I don't have to have a Shopify plan in order to get this stuff working. If you're doing this for your site, then your process will be slightly different, but overarching process is simpler for retailers than it is for Shopify developers, even though the process is pretty simple as is. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a store. I'm going to create a development store. And I'm just going to say test and build, and we go from there. I am going to start with some test data, so I don't have to create some things. And we're just going to call this Relume Smootify test, just to make things clear for us. Okay, so currently it's all good. Create development store. Okay, so that's all sorted out. Now the next thing, we'll just go to the Smootify documentation. And we'll see here we've got some stuff that we need to configure. So we need to install this headless store channel application. So if we go into here, we can just install it onto our specific project, which is this top one. So Relume Smootify tool, and we'll just hit install. Okay, so it needs to think, we just have to give it some permission. So we'll hit install. And that first step is done. So now basically what this is doing is it gives us the ability to link our data via the Smootify app into our Webflow store. And basically, if you're creating a hydrogen build on Shopify or a Headless or a Jamstack or wherever it is, like this is what the app that you need. We need to also add a theme that will handle this later on, and we'll cover that off in more details in the subsequent video. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to create the storefront. And we have our various different things. We have customer API and we have our storefront API. So this handles our products and our data and our collections, and this handles our user data for anyone. So for instance, we want to use the Shopify user administration tools and whatnot. Okay, so now before we get started and set up our Smootify account, what we need to do is just head on into here, and you can see here we have our public access token, private access token. So this gives us the API credentials that we need, and we also have our storefront API permissions. Okay, when we go down to this permissions section, we want to give it basically all of the permissions that we want. So we will just tick all of the ones that are not checked, and yeah, we are good to go. So just hit save, and there we have it. Now we're going to need this public access token, so you can just copy that for the time being. So it just stores it in clipboard, and we're going to head on over and we're going to start just setting up the actual link through the Smootify dashboard. Okay, so now let's set up our project within Smootify. So I'm just going to go and hit try it now. I've already logged in, and what we're going to do is basically just go and add a new site. As I said before, we've already created this particular template. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you have that already set up, because this next step we need to be able to link the projects. Okay, so back into our Smootify dashboard, we'll go add a new site, and I'm going to scroll down to my particular project. So the Smootify library one that I've just created, and I'm going to say authorize app. And once it's finished doing what it needs to do, you'll be presented with this particular UI. Okay, so now what we need to do is basically go through and just follow this in. So we've already copied that public token, so I'll just place that in there. And we need to add in our Shopify store URL and our project domain. Okay, and you can see here, be sure to not include any protocols, HTTPS. So all we need to do is go into here. I'm just going to grab my store URL. So I'll just copy that and come back over into here, and I'll place that in there. And now we need to get the Webflow domain. So we'll go back into here, and I'll just get the exact domain and back into the Smootify dashboard and just place it in there. Okay, so now we just get rid of these HTTPS and that trailing slash at the end and hit save. And our project is pretty much done. So now you've got a different types of things available here. You have Shopify data, which we're not going to actually do because we're going to utilize the auto sync later on to populate this. So we can skip this step, but we do need to install our Smootify scripts. So what we need to do is just copy this, head on into our Webflow project, go into our site settings. And if we look at the documentation, it says copy and paste your code into the head code section. So it's quite important. So we basically go into this, and what we will do is just added in there. And all this is doing is just loading in the various different scripts that we need in order to get everything to work. All right, so hit save and publish. Okay, so if we go back into our documentation now, we've done all of this. We've done all of this, and we've installed the scripts. Okay, so yeah, that's the end of the video. The next one, we're going to go and start syncing across our Shopify data and getting that into our Webflow Shopify store via the Smootify AutoSync app. And then we'll start populating the Webflow site with the new Relume components. And so yeah, see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.